Well, this is our final day speaking with the president of Consulting Resource Group. His name is Keis, and we have been talking about a fascinating subject, ourselves, and why God made us the way that he did. We've been talking about passion and purpose and dreams and how it all goes together, Ken. It's so exciting that God intricately designed us in our mother's womb with a purpose and a plan for our lives. But sometimes we get off track. Now, your book is entitled, Why Aren't You More Like Me? And we can begin feeling like others around us are annoying because they're not like us. And so we have to, we have to adjust to them, but also to ourselves. If we don't know ourselves, we might end up finding we've gone down a path that we didn't plan on.
Or it's not our destiny. I remember actually being in a college setting and working with Dr. Anderson, who was the founder of our company. And so there was about 23 students. And so we asked the question, what is your purpose in life? And without, this was a Christian university, without an exception, God's will, God's will, God's will, God's will. And then we said, what's God's will? I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And so part of this pursuit of our purpose, there's a movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, and really happiness, if you listen to most of the pastors, those happenings, is that there are 2 or 3 things that we need to do to be able to have this pursuit, is that we need to allow the God to direct us. A friend of mine who I got to know many years ago was a doctor, and we're having this conversation, and because I coach people around their life purpose, he said, I'm miserable. I hate being in medicine. I said, why are you in it? So that's what my father wanted. That's what my family wanted. And so he went to all of these training, years and years and years, to be a specialist in medicine. And one of the most difficult decisions he had to make was to say no to that path. So there are people that are watching this right now. You've been to training. You've got the expertise. You are good at what you do, but you don't love what you do, and you are not in your calling. So my friend actually left medicine. He has never been more excited. He's actually now a coach to doctors to help them in their purpose and their passion of lives. So for us, we need to take responsibility about those feelings as well as the insight that the Spirit gives us in this pursuit.
And that's what you have made your entire career about right now, is helping people to find out, who am I really? What do I love to do? What if somebody's about 50 years old, and I had a friend, actually, a girlfriend, and she said, I have never felt called to something. She has just plodded along, never felt a true calling. Has she missed it? Has God spoken and she didn't hear it? Or is that her personality?
It could be a little bit of both. I'm not familiar with the exact situation, but I would suggest that we have maybe missed it. But missed it maybe in a different way, as far as if I'm not paying attention. Again, we talked in this week about clues and being intentional and being able to kind of open up those doors. The other side is fears, because there's an old saying, is that I love the certainty of misery versus the misery of uncertainty. And so people, all of a sudden, if I'm going to take a new path, they're uncertain. I just finished writing an article about why people hate their jobs. And a lot of it is that they won't change because they won't take the steps to go into a new direction. It was a lot of faith on part of this doctor to quit medicine and go down a whole new pathway. So they get stuck, they get contained. And so if we need to borrow from somebody else's courage, borrow from somebody else's encouragement. The other side that can sometimes get us stuck, Laura Lynn, is that we have well-meaning family. And I mentioned earlier this week about my son and just getting feedback from his aunt that wasn't really encouraging, is that sometimes this is a personal journey. You might have a confident 1 or 2, but if you tell everybody, oh, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to do that, oh, Laura Lynn, you don't know how many businesses fail every year and all these different things, if I'm called down that route. And so I want to encourage everybody that's watching this show, is that you have this purpose. And so get in a space, in a place where you have people that will walk with you. And if you have naysayers, you need to exclude them, not to exclude them from your life, but they need to be excluded from this journey, because only you can take it.
That is fascinating, and it is so true. It's resonating with every cell in my being, because I do believe that God has purposed each one of us to do something great. It might not be in front of a lot of people. You might be an incredible servant's heart, you know, but to do it. When I told my mom that God had called me to television, she said to me in all seriousness, "Don't give up your typing skills." And she's at home watching, and she'll remember that moment. And I had to go, typing skills? No, I'm called to be on television to tell people about God. And today, I'm living that, but not everybody believed in that dream for me.
And that's the sad state where people, they're well-meaning. They don't want to hurt you. They don't want you to take a path
And they
where
want you to
you're
be safe.
To be safe. And so, God, walking with God ain't safe. It's safe with Him, but it takes risks. It takes stepping outside of the box. Think about the disciples. Leave everything behind. Move forward. Don't look back. Look ahead. And so what God also wants us to do, there's two things that I want to mention here for people, is that there was some research that we did, and I've created a new model, and that is that, first of all, for you to move forward, you need to be joyful in the moment. Is that God's not going to give kind of a miserable, mean-spirited, non-joyful person all the things that they need, because I need to be standing in that. And so, first of all, no matter what you are, happy, discontent, joyful. God talks about being, can I be joyful in the moment? The second one is I need to have that vision about going forward, because that inspires us, that draws us. That, you know, somebody said, we were talking about that, if you weren't doing C or G, if you weren't speaking and training, what else would you be doing? And I said, right now, there is nothing else. I don't know of anything. I don't need to think about it. I am just in this place to be able to write and speak and train and certify and help other individuals to be connected to that. And so everybody here that's watching, the same thing can apply to them. So that journey is, sometimes you have to kind of, well, you know what? You have to step out of the comfort zone. It's just the way that it is.
So somebody's watching right now and they're saying, well, I'm not joyful. I don't know how to be joyful in what I'm doing. They can get some help, I guess. They can go to your website. They can read your book, Why Aren't You More Like Me? And they can begin doing some exploration as to what's going on.
So if you're not where you're supposed to be, then my encouragement is you get joyful in where you're at, because you're in a journey. Life is not about I get to it. I mean, some of the most depressed people in the world are Olympians after they win gold, because their whole life has been around that specific item. And now they've reached it. Now they've done it. Now what? Now what's next? And so if all of us can learn a lesson from that, is that this journey is ongoing. It never ends until, you know, He comes back or we're with Him. And so, and then even from there, it continues. So we want to be on this continuous process of saying that in this moment, I have a choice to be joyful. And in that joy will also bring more satisfaction, more fulfillment, and doors will open that will link to who I am, that God has created me for it. And as I mentioned in another segment, you know, pastor who was in a senior position, and he realized that that was not his calling. He was courageous enough to say to the denomination, I'm not going to be a senior anymore. It's not, or the lead pastor, it's not where I'm supposed to be.
Do you think that also being unhappy is an opportunity to explore that something's not quite right?
Oh, absolutely. In my book, I mentioned procrastination is good because procrastination could mean I'm doing the wrong thing. I could be doing the right thing in the wrong environment, or it's a combination of both. And so even your own state, your sort of emotional state is leaving a clue. And the other one is, if I'm unhappy, that's a negative energy. Who wants to work with you? There's a book that's written around the toxic workplace. Well, that could be in any relationship, any family. So if you're negative, you're not even going to attract, or people aren't going to want to work with you because that energy that you're giving out. And so it's really the whole package, and just don't say, it's everything that we have talked about this week, where you talk about personal style, you talk about values, you talk about purpose and gifts and talents, you take care of your wellness and your health and those elements, you build your self-worth, you are in the Spirit and you are focused on His leading, and you do all of it. It's not with any single one, it's all of it that brings that package so that you can pursue what God has you for.
How much of this is taking risks and courage, just the sheer courage to do what God's asked you to do?
It's one of the primary items. Is one of the primary. There was a survey done of a group of 70-year-olds, and they were asked a question: if you could live your life over again, what could you do differently? One of the #1 items they said is take more risks. Take more risks, because out there is the plan that he has for you.
Yes. Well, I hope that that is speaking right to somebody's heart at home. Thank you, Ken, for this entire
Thank
week.
you.
It's been fascinating. I've enjoyed every second of it.